Hello and welcome to English Win Today, my YouTube channel. Today I will share a powerful and emotional story called Doctor Hid the Truth. This story will not only help you improve your English, but it will also touch your heart. You will learn new words, simple sentences, and how to express deep feelings in English. Have you ever told a lie? Not to hurt someone, but to protect them? Have you ever said something you were not sure about, just to give someone hope? This story is about a moment like that, a moment where one sentence changed everything. Now, let me tell you my story. My name is Dr. Maya Lynn. I am an emergency doctor at a busy city hospital. I am 32 years old, and I have been working in the emergency department for almost 8 years. I live alone in a small apartment near the hospital, and most days, my life is simple. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. But inside the emergency room, nothing is ever simple. Every day I see pain, fear, and sometimes loss. I have learned how to stay calm, how to think fast, and how to make hard decisions. In my job, every second matters. One small mistake can change someone's life forever. That night started like any other night. The hospital was crowded. The waiting area was full of patients. Some were crying, some were silent, and some were just staring at the floor, waiting for their turn. The air smelled of medicine and stress. Nurses moved quickly, calling names, checking vital signs, and trying to keep everything under control. I was already tired. It was my third night shift in a row. My head felt heavy, but I didn't have time to rest. Then suddenly, the doors of the emergency room burst open. "Emergency case! Move!" a nurse shouted. A young boy was rushed in on a stretcher. He looked about 10 or 11 years old. His body was covered in blood. His face was pale, and his eyes were closed. "Car accident," one of the paramedics said quickly. "Severe trauma, possible internal bleeding, blood pressure dropping." My heart tightened, but my hands stayed steady. "Take him to room 3, I said. "Call the surgical team. Prepare for immediate operation." We moved fast, very fast. Inside the room, machines started beeping. Nurses attached monitors to his body. I checked his pulse. It was weak. Too weak. "What's his name?" I asked. "Leo," a nurse replied. "Leo. Such a small name for such a big fight." "Leo, can you hear me?" I said softly, even though I knew he probably couldn't. There was no response. "Doctor, his heart rate is unstable," another nurse said. "Prepare blood transfusion," I ordered. "We don't have much time." My mind was racing. His injuries were serious, very serious. Internal bleeding like this. It was dangerous. Sometimes, even with the best treatment, the patient doesn't survive. But I couldn't think about that now. I had to focus. We rushed Leo to the operating room. The surgical team was ready. Bright lights filled the room. The sound of machines and voices mixed together. "Scalpel," I said. Time felt strange in moments like this. Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt like hours. Then, suddenly, the door opened again. "Doctor," a nurse called me quietly. "The boy's mother is here." I paused for a second. His mother. Of course. She must be terrified. "I'll talk to her," I said, taking off my gloves for a moment. I stepped out of the operating room. The hallway felt colder than before. At the end of the hall, I saw her. A woman in her late 30s, maybe early 40s. Her hair was messy, her face was pale, and her eyes were full of fear. Her hands were shaking. She looked like she had been crying. Or maybe she was trying not to. When she saw me, she rushed forward. "Doctor," she said, her voice breaking. My son! Leo! How is he? Is he okay? For a moment, I didn't speak. I looked at her eyes. They were full of hope, but also full of fear. I took a deep breath. He's in surgery right now, I said carefully. We are doing everything we can. Her lips trembled. Will he live? She asked. The question hung in the air. Will he live? I had heard this question many times before, and every time, it felt heavy, because sometimes there is no clear answer. I looked back at the operating room door. Inside, the team was fighting to save Leo's life. I knew the truth. His condition was critical, very critical. There was a high chance. He might not survive. But how could I say that to her? How could I take away the only thing she had left? Hope. I looked at her again. She was waiting, holding her breath, waiting for my answer. My mind was full of numbers, risks, and medical facts, but my heart felt something else. And then I made a choice. Yes, I said, my voice calm and firm. He will live. The moment the words left my mouth, I felt something change. She froze for a second. Then tears filled her eyes. Really? She whispered. I nodded. Yes. He's strong, and we are doing everything to save him. She covered her mouth and started crying. But this time, it was different. It wasn't just fear anymore. There was hope in her tears. Thank you, doctor, she said again and again. I gave her a small smile, but inside, my chest felt heavy, because I knew something she didn't. I wasn't sure, not at all. I turned back toward the operating room. As I walked in, one of the nurses looked at me. Doctor, we're losing him, she said urgently. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly put my gloves back on. Let's continue, I said. We're not giving up. I looked at Leo's small body on the table, so fragile, so still, and suddenly, I remembered his mother's face, her eyes, her hope, my words. He will live. But at that moment, the machine let out a sharp sound, a long, continuous beep. My breath stopped. Doctor, someone said quietly. I stared at the monitor, and in that moment, I realized I might have just told a lie that I could never take back. The sound of the machine stayed in my ears. A long, sharp beep, flat, still. For 1 second, everything in the room froze. No one spoke, no one moved. Then I heard my own voice, louder than I expected. Start CP now! The team moved instantly. One nurse began chest compressions. Another prepared medication. The room, which had been silent for a second, was now full of urgent voices again. Charging defibrillator! Epinephrine ready? Heart rate 0! I stood close to Leo, my hands steady, but inside I felt a storm. His small chest moved with each compression. His skin looked even paler under the bright lights. Come on, Leo, I whispered under my breath. Stay with us. Clear, the nurse shouted. A shock went through his body. His arms moved slightly, then fell still again. We all looked at the monitor. Nothing. Again, I said quickly. Another shock, still nothing. Time felt cruel. Each second felt heavier than the last. I could feel the pressure in the room, not just medical pressure, but emotional pressure too, because outside that room there was a mother holding on to my words. He will live! The sentence repeated in my mind again and again. What if I was wrong? No, I was not sure. And now, it looked like I was losing him. Doctor, one of the younger nurses said softly, we've been trying for several minutes. I knew what she meant. In situations like this, there comes a moment when doctors must make a decision. To continue, or to stop, to fight, or to accept. My eyes stayed on Leo. He was just a boy. He had a life ahead of him, dreams, a future. And outside, his mother was waiting, trusting me, believing in me. "No," I said firmly. "We continue." The nurse nodded. We kept going. Another injection. More compressions. More seconds. More silence from the monitor. Then suddenly, "Wait!" someone shouted. A small movement appeared on the screen. A weak line. A tiny signal. "Pulse is coming back," the nurse said, her voice full of surprise. My heart jumped. "Keep going," I said, trying to stay calm. "Support it." Slowly, very slowly, the flat line began to move. Not strong, not stable, but alive. Alive. A breath I didn't realize I was holding escaped from my chest. "Good," I whispered. "Good. Stay with us." But the danger was not over, not even close. "His blood pressure is still very low," another nurse warned. "Internal bleeding is severe," the surgeon added. "We need to control it fast," I nodded. "Let's move. No mistakes." The next hour felt like a battle. A real battle. Blood, sweat, focus, fear. We worked without stopping. Every movement had to be perfect. Every second mattered. There were moments when his condition dropped again. Moments when I thought we were losing him for the second time. But each time, we pulled him back. Barely. It felt like holding on to something that kept slipping away. And all the while, my mind kept going back to that hallway, to his mother. What was she doing now? Was she sitting alone? Was she crying? Or was she holding on to my words, believing them with all her heart? I remembered the way she looked at me, trusting, hoping, strong, because I told her to be. And suddenly, I felt something I didn't expect. Fear. Not just fear of losing a patient, but fear of breaking someone's hope, because sometimes, hope is the only thing a person has. "Doctor," the surgeon said, pulling me back to the moment. "We're controlling the bleeding, but it's not easy." I nodded. "Do whatever you need. Save him." Hours passed. The clock on the wall moved slowly, but it felt like time had stopped. Finally, the bleeding slowed down. His heart was still beating, weak but steady. The room became quieter. Not silent, but calmer. We all looked at each other. No one smiled. Not yet. Because we all knew this was only the first step. "He's stable, for now," the nurse said carefully. "For now," I repeated. Those two words felt heavy. I stepped back from the table. My body suddenly felt tired. Very tired. But my mind was still awake, still thinking, still worried. "Prepare to move him to ICU," I said. The team nodded and began preparing. As I took off my gloves, I looked at Leo one more time. He was still unconscious. Tubes and machines surrounded him. But he was alive. Because we didn't give up. Because maybe that one sentence had changed something. Or maybe it was just luck. I didn't know. And that uncertainty stayed in my heart. I walked out of the operating room slowly. The hallway felt different now, quieter, heavier. And at the end of the hall, she was still there, Leo's mother. She stood up the moment she saw me. Her eyes searched my face, looking for an answer, looking for truth. My steps slowed down. What would I say now? What if his condition changed again? What if he didn't survive the night? The words I said earlier came back to me. "He will live." Was I about to break that promise? I stopped in front of her. She looked at me, her hands shaking again. "Doctor," she whispered. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could say anything, a nurse rushed out of the ICU behind me. "Dr. Maya," she called urgently, "you need to come now." My heart dropped. I turned quickly. "What happened?" I asked. "It's the boy, Leo. His condition is dropping again." Everything inside me froze for a second. Not again. Not after everything. I looked back at his mother, her face turned pale. She understood. Without words, she understood. And in that moment, I realized the fight was not over, not even close. I took a deep breath. "I'll be back," I said quickly, and ran toward the ICU. Behind me, I could feel her eyes, full of fear once again. And this time, I wasn't sure if hope would be enough. I ran back into the ICU as fast as I could. The doors opened with a loud sound, and I rushed inside. The atmosphere was different now, tense, urgent, and filled with fear again. "His oxygen level is dropping," a nurse said quickly. "Heart rate is unstable," another added. I stepped closer to Leo's bed. The machines around him were beeping again, louder this time. His small body looked even weaker than before. "Leo," I whispered, placing my hand near his. His skin was cold. Too cold. "What happened?" I asked. "We think there may be internal complications," the surgeon replied. "His body is not responding well." My chest tightened. We had fought so hard. We had brought him back. But now, it felt like he was slipping away again. "Start immediate stabilization," I said. "Increase oxygen support. Check his blood gases. I want full monitoring now." Everyone moved quickly again. But this time, something felt different. The room was heavier, more serious, more uncertain, and inside me, a quiet fear started growing. I looked at Leo's face, so small, so fragile, and suddenly, I remembered his mother's voice. "Will he live?" And my answer, "Yes, he will." The memory hit me hard, because now I wasn't so sure anymore. What if I had given her false hope? What if this was the moment everything ended? "Doctor," the nurse said softly, "his blood pressure is dropping again." "Give medication," I ordered. We worked again, faster, stronger, but Leo's body was struggling. His numbers were not improving. Minutes passed. Then suddenly, the monitor showed something strange. A sharp drop, then a small rise, then irregular patterns. "Doctor, his heart rhythm is unstable," a nurse said. I took a deep breath. Think, focus. There had to be something we could do. "Check his internal bleeding again," I said. "There may be a hidden source." We scanned his body again. And then, the surgeon's voice changed. "Doctor, we found something." "What is it?" I asked quickly. "There's a small tear we didn't see before. It's bleeding internally again." My heart sank. So that was it. The reason, the missing piece. "Can we operate?" I asked. "His condition is too unstable," the surgeon replied. "We risk losing him during surgery." Silence filled the room for a moment. No one spoke. No one moved. This was the moment. The decision. Operate and risk everything. Or wait, and risk losing him anyway. My mind raced. Every option felt dangerous. Every second mattered. Then, I heard a memory, her voice. "Will he live?" And my answer, "Yes, he will." I closed my eyes for a brief second. Then I opened them. "Prepare for emergency surgery," I said firmly. The surgeon looked at me. "Are you sure?" No, I wasn't sure. Not at all. But I nodded. Yes. Because sometimes, you don't choose what is certain. You choose what is necessary. The team rushed into action again. Preparation began immediately. Within minutes, Leo was back in the operating room. Again, the second surgery began. The lights were bright. The tension was high. The risk was extreme. "Scalpel," I said. My hands were steady, but my heart was not. As we worked, something strange happened. I felt different, not just like a doctor, but like someone holding on to hope itself. Every stitch, every movement, mattered more than ever. "Control the bleeding," I said. "We're almost there," the surgeon replied. Leo's condition fluctuated during the operation. Up and down, stable, then unstable. It felt like walking on a thin line. One mistake, and everything would fall apart. But then, something unexpected happened. His heart rhythm started to stabilize. Slowly, carefully, step by step. "His condition is improving," the nurse said, surprised. I looked at the monitor, and for the first time that night, there was a steady line, a strong rhythm, alive, still alive. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Keep monitoring," I said quietly. The surgery continued, and this time, we succeeded. The tear was repaired. The bleeding stopped. His body held on. When we finally finished, the room felt different, quieter, calmer, but also heavier with meaning. "He made it through," the surgeon said softly. I nodded. Yes, he did. I looked at Leo one more time before leaving the room. This time, he looked more stable, still weak, but alive. I walked out of the operating room slowly. Each step felt different, lighter, heavier, full of emotion. At the end of the hallway, she was still there, his mother, waiting, still. Her eyes immediately locked onto mine the moment I appeared. She stood up quickly. "Doctor," she said, her voice shaking. I walked toward her. This time, I didn't hesitate. "He's stable now," I said. Her breath stopped. For a second, she didn't react. Then suddenly, "Stable?" she repeated. I nodded. "Yes, we repaired the problem. He's going to be okay." Silence. Then tears. Tears of relief. Tears of disbelief. She covered her face and began crying. "He's alive?" she whispered. "Yes," I said softly. "He's alive?" She slowly looked up at me. Her eyes were filled with gratitude and something deeper, something I couldn't explain. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for not giving up." I smiled slightly, but inside, I felt something different, something heavier, because I knew something she didn't. Not everything I said earlier was true. And now, I had to decide what to do with that truth. The night slowly turned into morning. Sunlight began to enter through the hospital windows, soft and quiet, touching the cold walls of the emergency ward. After a long, exhausting night, everything finally felt calmer. Leo was moved to the recovery room. He was still connected to machines, but his condition was stable. The doctor said he needed time to recover, but the most dangerous part was over. I stood outside his room, watching him sleep. His chest moved gently, in and out. Alive. I felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, exhaustion, and something deeper, guilt, because I still remembered my words. "Yes, he will live." Those words echoed in my mind again and again. Were they true? No. At the moment I said them, I wasn't sure at all, but they became something real. And now, they helped keep someone going. Footsteps approached from behind. I turned. It was his mother. She walked toward me slowly, her eyes tired but hopeful. She stopped in front of me and looked at me for a moment. Then she smiled, a soft, peaceful smile. "Thank you, doctor," she said quietly. "You saved my son." I felt my throat tighten. I wanted to say something honest, something real. "I need to tell you something," I said slowly. She looked at me, curious. "When I told you that he would live," I paused. I wasn't sure. Silence. Her expression changed slightly, but not with anger, with understanding. "I was afraid," I continued. "His condition was very serious. I didn't know if he would survive. But I said it, because I knew you needed strength, and he needed you to be strong." She listened quietly. Then she took a deep breath. "I understand," she said. I looked at her, surprised. "You understand?" She nodded. "Yes. If you had told me the truth, I might have lost hope. And maybe I would not have stayed strong for him." Her voice softened. "But because of your words, I believed. I waited. I didn't give up." Her eyes filled with tears again. And maybe that belief helped him survive. I stayed silent. Her words touched something deep inside me. Because maybe she was right. The lie was not just a lie. It was a choice to protect hope, a choice to give someone strength when they needed it the most. And maybe that strength made a difference. I looked at Leo again, sleeping peacefully, alive, safe. And for the first time since that night, I felt at peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because something meaningful had happened, something that could not be measured by machines or medical reports. Hope, trust, and life. Vocabulary section. Now it's time to learn some important vocabulary from this story. These words will help you understand and speak better English. 1. Critical, critical means very serious and dangerous. Example: his condition was critical. It means the situation can change quickly and may become life-threatening. 2. Internal bleeding. This means bleeding inside the body. Example: he had internal bleeding after the accident. It is dangerous because you cannot see it from outside. 3. Monitor A. Monitor is a machine that shows information about a patient's body, like heart rate. Example: the monitor showed his heart rate. In everyday use, monitor can also mean to watch something carefully. 4. Stable means not changing, safe, or under control. Example: his condition is stable now. It means the situation is no longer getting worse. 5. Unstable is the opposite of stable. It means something is not safe or can change suddenly. Example: his condition was unstable. 6. Surgery. Surgery is an operation where doctors fix a problem inside the body. Example: he needed emergency surgery. 7. Complication. Complication is a new problem during a situation. Example: there was a complication during surgery. It makes things more difficult. 8. Hope. Hope means believing something good will happen. Example: she held on to hope. Hope gives strength in difficult times. 9. Trust. Trust means believing someone is honest and reliable. Example: the mother trusted the doctor. 10. Lie. A lie is something that is not true. Example: I told a lie. In this story, the lie was told to protect someone's feelings. 11. Choice. A choice is something you decide to do. Example: she made a difficult choice. The doctor chose to give hope. 12. Strength. Strength means power, either physical or emotional. Example: she showed great strength. It can mean being strong inside your heart. Pronunciation, shadowing practice. Now let's practice speaking. Repeat after me slowly and clearly. I trusted my decision. I trusted my decision. I wasn't sure, but I acted. I wasn't sure, but I acted. He needed hope. He needed hope. She stayed strong. She stayed strong. I did what I thought was right. I did what I thought was right. Not all truth is easy. Not all truth is easy. Sometimes words can save a life. Sometimes words can save a life. I chose hope over fear. I chose hope over fear. I made a difficult decision. I made a difficult decision. She believed in me. She believed in me. I will never forget that night. I will never forget that night. Teaching time moral lesson. This story teaches us that truth is not always about facts alone. Sometimes it is about timing, care, and responsibility. Dr. Maya did not lie to deceive, but to protect. In a moment of fear and uncertainty, she chose words that gave strength instead of taking hope away. Her lie became a source of courage for the mother, and that courage helped create the emotional strength needed to stay strong during a critical time. The deeper lesson is this: our words have power. What we say can either break someone's spirit or give them the strength to keep going. It also reminds us that hope can be life-changing. Even when the outcome is uncertain, hope can give people the will to fight, to endure, and to believe in tomorrow. Finally, the story shows that sometimes love means protecting someone's heart, even if it means bending the truth for a moment. True kindness is not always about being perfectly honest. It is about doing what helps someone survive, grow, and stay strong. Healing note: if you are reading this and you are going through a difficult time, remember this: not everything in life is clear. Not every situation has an easy answer. Sometimes people around you may not tell you the full truth, but that doesn't always mean they are trying to hurt you. Sometimes they are trying to protect you. Sometimes they are trying to give you strength when you need it most. And most importantly, you have the power to keep going. Like Leo, even when things looked very dark, he still had a chance. He didn't give up, and someone believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. So if you are struggling today, hold on to this. You are stronger than you think. You are more important than you realize. And your story is not over yet. Even in your weakest moments, there is still hope. Stay strong. Take one step at a time, and believe that better days are coming. You are not alone. Thank you so much for watching this story. Now I have some questions for you. Have you ever told a small lie to protect someone? Do you think the doctor made the right decision? What would you have done in her place? Please write your answers in the comments. I would love to read them. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to English Win Today for more emotional English learning stories. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.